Hey, welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company all the way until 4 p.m. There's a lot of great stuff that is going around. I've been having such a great time right now, and it's just an amazing day outside. It's a great afternoon, and I hope you guys are enjoying the show, but because we got a lot that we're going to be talking about today. And one of the things is that MPs are going to vote later on extending emergency coronavirus laws in England for another 6 months amid warnings of a checkpoint society. So, yeah, the government says the measures are still needed to deal with the pandemic as the country moves out of lockdown. So, yeah, some conservative backbenchers have expressed concerns about the extent and length of the powers set out in the Coronavirus Act. And in case you guys are wondering what this act is, it came in force. It was instated back in March 2020. When the first lockdown happened, that was in 23rd of March back in 2020. So yeah, at the start of the pandemic, ministers pledging to use the measures when strictly necessary. So yeah, some conservative backbenchers have expressed concerns about the extent and the powers, of this Coronavirus Act. And a group of lockdown septic Tory MPs is calling for a suspension of the rules. So yeah, this law, gave the government wide-ranging powers, unlike ever seen before, from shutting down pubs through detaining individuals deemed at risk as part of effort to contain the spread of the virus. So yeah, the law gave the governing body a lot of this power. And yeah, it's because of that. I mean, you've never seen this. We've never seen this before, rather, where a governing party can shut down pubs and catch and detain individuals, especially just for not for going out and not actually proper following the proper precautionary methods. So yeah, MPs will be asked to extend it until the end of September, as well as voting on England's roadmap out of a lockdown. So yeah, that's just something that they want to be talking about, and that is something that's going to be happening right now. And yeah, they're voting about it, and they're talking about the continuation of this virtual proceedings in the Commons. And yeah, the legislation has given a 2-year lifespan, but the regulations have to be approved every 6 months. Yeah, that's right. So the Labour, they've indicated it'll support the extension, but a handful of backbenchers, the Tory backbenchers, are expected to rebel. So yeah, the chairman of the 1922 committee of Conservative MPs, Sir Graham Brady, said he would be voting against because, as he quotes, it is important that we make the case for a return to normality and trusting people with their own lives. And he continues that these powers were given by Parliament to government last March as a very temporary set of extreme emergency measures. So nobody then envisaged, that they would be in place a year later, still to be used 18 months on. So I think we need to be very cautious about the dangers of normalizing what is actually a very extreme policy response. So yeah, they're talking about all of this stuff. They're saying we're giving the government too much of power. This was supposed to end almost a couple of months ago, but it's still going on for the past 18 months, and nobody ever expected this. I mean, especially with the pandemic, it blew up in such a way, it blew up out of proportions that nobody, not even the governing body of the UK, expected something like this of this magnitude. So yeah, the deputy chairman of the COVID recovery group of lockdown septics, conservative Steve Baker, said that the vote was a rare opportunity for MPs to say no to a new way of life in a checkpoint society. I mean, that's what they're talking about, and they're saying about all of these things. And he also said that he was reassured by the Prime Minister's comments at the liaison committee back in Wednesday that anything that is redundant will go. So yeah, Mr. Baker said that at the very least, this must include a draconian police powers, which he said had 100% unlawful prosecution record. So yeah, he said that he will table an amendment to motion asking ministers to suspend those powers and be called, the government to support it. So yeah, there's been a lot of concerns, that have been also raised about so-called vaccine passports for pubs. And in case you guys are wondering, that's just something that they've been talking about planning to implement this jab passports. And in case you guys are wondering what this is all suggested by Boris Johnson, and they're planning to introduce a vaccine passport scheme. Once all the adults have been offered the vaccination. So yeah, the prime minister, said that on a review, the idea would be reported in April, but no decision has been taken as of yet. And he said that there will be a lot of difficulties, a lot of moral complexities, ethical problems that need to be addressed. So yeah, it comes as these publicans cast doubt on Johnson's suggestion that pub goers might have to prove their vaccination status. So yeah, a government review into the possible use of the coronavirus passports or status certificates is taking place under the plans to ease England's lockdown. So yeah, Mr. Johnson said in a previous coronavirus infection, could be a feature used if they are adopted. So, he basically quotes that there are three basic components to this passport, especially that there's the vaccine, there's your immunity, and then, your immunity after you've had the COVID, and then there's testing. So these are the things that they believe that could be working together when formulating this passport. So yeah, he added though that no decision has been taken at all as of yet. So he just wants to make it clear that none of this is obviously going to apply on April 12th, when it will all be outdoors anyway, when everyone is going to be back to normal and everyone is allowed to go back outdoors. So yeah, this is something that Boris Johnson is just talking about, but not a lot of people are happy about it. So that's just something. And this government review, will examine how someone's status could be restored. It could be stored also securely and potentially on their phone, and the venues where it could apply. So in case you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, it's basically this passport, they're trying to put this information into our phones so it can be securely stored into the phones, and it could be used in venues and shown, as a proof or digital certificate. So that's what they're talking about right here. But the leader of the, COVID recovery group, Conservative Mark Harper, said the idea of vaccine certificates to enter pubs was an issue. And he raised, he says that it's practical and it's moral and it has ethical issues. These are issues that needed to be addressed. That's what he's trying to talk about. And, he also says that we've asked young people to do a lot over the last year. And I think the least we can do is to get the economy open so that their futures are not damaged any further. So yeah, that's just something that he was just talking about. And he also questioned why the measures need to remain in place until autumn, when under the roadmap for easing lockdown in England, most restrictions should be lifted by the 21st of June. So yeah, the government says only necessary and proportionate measures will remain to deal with the virus. So yeah, speaking on a visit to West London, the Prime Minister rejected suggestions. He was no longer concerned about protecting individuals' freedoms. He also said, that the libertarian in me is also trying to protect individuals' fundamental right to life and their ability to live their lives normally, and that the only way to restore that for everybody is for us to beat the disease. So yeah, the best path to freedom is down the cautious but irreversible roadmap that we set out, and that's what the freedom lover wants. So yeah, that's just something that he's talking about. He also, his comments, all these comments come after the health secretary, Matt Hancock, said he could see an end to the pandemic that would involve managing coronavirus more like a flu with repeated and updated vaccinations. So yeah, he says also that further, I'm confident that that's where we can get to. I want to get to a position where we can have an updated vaccine in weeks or months and not in years. So that's just something that they are talking about. That's just crazy stuff right there. And with that, we are going to be stepping into some more amazing tracks right here. And up next, we got Jake Scott, and this track is called Like No One Does. So check it out.